Over recent years, Donald Trump has continuously astounded people globally. In moments where it seemed all was lost and challenges insurmountable, he not only stood firm but emerged again and again, mysteriously gaining strength. Some attribute this to chance or coincidences, yet a closer analysis reveals signs so compelling that many question whether Trump's path is dictated by divine force, perhaps chosen by it. The Bible tells of unlikely figures called to fulfill divine missions. Moses, raised in Egyptian luxury, led his people through the desert. David, a simple shepherd, became king. And Jesus, the son of a humble carpenter, challenged the entire world. What if today, in times of chaos, God chose someone unexpected to carry out his purpose? Historically, this has been the case. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise, and the weak things of the world to shame the strong. Today we explore 7 biblical signs in Trump's life. Pay attention, as some of these signs are linked to prophecies yet to be fulfilled. Let us know in the comments if you think these signs are truly divine, or if you consider them to have no biblical significance. If you know other signs, share them too. Let's start with the first sign. First sign, number 45, and the prophecy of Cyrus. Trump was the 45th president of the United States. In Isaiah 45, a disturbing message is found. God calls Cyrus, a foreign king and leader unknown to the people of Israel, to carry out a divine mission. Isaiah 45's prophecy states, "I am the Lord who has called you by your name, even though you do not know me." Cyrus, also known as Cyrus the Great, was the Persian monarch who, against all odds, became an instrument of liberation for the people of Israel. This ruler, though foreign, was recognized in the Bible as an anointed of God. In Isaiah 45, this case is unique and deeply symbolic. God chooses a leader, not from his people, to fulfill a divine purpose. Cyrus's mission was to liberate the Israelites from their captivity in Babylon and allow them to return to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. In Israel's history, this represented a monumental act of restoration. God chooses someone who does not know him intimately, but who fulfills a mission that, unknowingly, impacts millions. Cyrus was anointed, yes, but he was not the typical man of God. He was an unexpected leader, one who did not align with the sacred, yet he was chosen to liberate. The prophet Isaiah proclaims that the Lord has called him by his name and granted him victory, even without knowing him. In the Bible, God does not always choose those who seem most suitable in our eyes. Sometimes he selects those who defy our expectations, as he did with Cyrus, surprising the very people he came to help. Could there be a parallel between Cyrus and Trump? What if this were not just a prophecy of the past, but a vision of what was to come? Trump is a man whose trajectory has been anything but conventional. He is a businessman many deemed unlikely to come to power. Like Cyrus, Trump rose to power without the blessing of religious elites. It is not that Trump is perfect, but perhaps his perfection is not what counts, but his purpose. Perhaps, like Cyrus, his mission does not require deep faith or detailed knowledge of scriptures, but a position and a disposition. Trump, unknowingly, might be fulfilling a role in a plan that surpasses him. And isn't that often what we see in the Bible's pages, where God uses the least expected? Second sign, recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. In an unexpected act that stunned the world, Donald Trump moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, officially recognizing it as the capital of Israel. This decision was loaded with symbolism and was interpreted by many as a confirmation that Jerusalem is the eternal and indivisible capital of the Jewish people, as proclaimed by the prophets. With this single act, Trump aligned U.S. policy with ancient biblical promises about Jerusalem's return to the heart of the nation of Israel. For some, this move was more than politics. Trump was seen as a defender of Israel, strengthening the historical link between the nation and its sacred capital. In the Bible, God declares, "I will bless those who bless you," a promise that those who bless Israel will be blessed. Jerusalem is mentioned over 800 times in the Bible. It is the place where God established his name, the city that sustains the hope of the people of Israel, and the promise that God will never forsake his people. Officially recognizing it as the capital was not just a political statement, it was a profoundly symbolic act, and some believe that only a chosen one would dare to do so. The recognition of Jerusalem was interpreted as a symbolic step towards preparing for the coming of the Messiah, according to the texts of Ezekiel and Revelation, making Jerusalem a spiritual center and marking the beginning of apocalyptic events. The reconstruction of the temple, more than a physical act, is the symbol of Israel's final restoration and God's closeness to his people. Ezekiel describes it as the place where God will place his sanctuary forever, signaling divine return and eternal peace in Jerusalem. Revelation takes this vision even further, showing the new Jerusalem descending from heaven, a place where God will dwell with men. In this outcome, Jerusalem becomes the eternal city, the center of a transformed creation without pain or death. Thus, recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel was a much deeper act than a mere controversial political decision. Many believe Trump was fulfilling the beginning of biblical prophecy. From this moment, Trump is seen by some as someone given a special mission to protect Israel in times of need, a chosen one to fulfill the prophecies yet unfulfilled in Jerusalem. But Trump did not stop there. He continued to protect Israel with the following sign. Third sign, signing of the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords, signed in 2020, were an unprecedented step. Trump, in an unexpected twist of diplomacy, became the mediator who brought together Israel and several Arab countries under a common purpose: peace. This agreement surprised the world, especially in a context where relations between these nations seemed marked by years of conflict, distrust, and broken promises. For many, it was just a political move, but for others, a sign of something much deeper. From a biblical perspective, the words Abraham Accords resonate with powerful force. With Abraham, God establishes his promise to establish his people, the people of Israel. Through you, all families of the earth will be blessed. Abraham is the father of Israel, the patriarch of three major religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. The name Abraham Accords was not chosen at random. It represents the union of all peoples, the common lineage, and the promise of a land of peace. The ancient scriptures spoke of times like this, and for many, the words came to life. In the Bible, we read, "On that day there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria. Israel will be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the land." But just as hope was blossoming, voices of caution emerged. When they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them. Joy was mixed with uncertainty, and every look sought signs on the horizon. In the Bible, peace in the Middle East is a sign of great relevance, a prelude to momentous events. Some Christians see in these agreements an approach to those prophecies, a manifestation that important times are near. But why Trump? Why him among so many world leaders? Many have wondered if there is a divine intention behind this. Trump is not the prototype of a conventional peacemaker, and yet his actions in this case defy expectations. It is as if, amid the tensions, someone had granted him the ability to do what others could not. This agreement becomes a clear sign that it is not just diplomacy. Something else is happening. It is possible that these agreements, with their implications of peace and promise, truly symbolize the fulfillment of the Scriptures. For those who believe in divine purpose, the answer is clear, because it has been fulfilled. Not only the prophecy of this peace, but also the prophecy of the breaking of this peace, the war. And this prophecy is fulfilled with the following sign. Fourth sign. After losing the presidency, Israel enters war. Donald Trump's defeat in the 2020 elections was an unexpected change for many of his followers and marked a period of great uncertainty. His departure from the White House began a new stage that for some was more related to divine plans than to political fluctuations. As the world watched the change in leadership, something was brewing far from US borders that would raise all alarms. Israel, God's chosen people, faced the threat of war again. The fragile peace that had prevailed for years began to crumble, and the echoes of an ancient conflict resonated once more in the sacred region. But this was already predicted in the Bible. Zechariah 12 states, "I will make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling. All the nations of the earth will gather against it. On that day, Jerusalem will become an immovable rock for all peoples. Those who try to move it will be shattered." This ancient and enigmatic verse seems to come to life in a modern context where Israel, surrounded by enemies and facing new threats, returns to the center of tension. For some, this war is not just another conflict. The Bible speaks of times when Israel will be put to the test, and many see Trump's absence from the presidency as a crucial element in this stage of turmoil. As if his departure had opened a door to dark times, a test for God's people. Trump's exit, followed by the war in Israel, is for some a reminder that battles do not end, that there is always a purpose behind each test, and that the fate of the chosen, be they peoples or individuals, is not decided at the polls, but in something much bigger. The Bible speaks of Israel as the people that God would protect and love eternally. In Genesis 12, God promises Abraham, "I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse." This verse leads us to the next and powerful sign. Fifth sign, dodges a bullet by inches. During a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, on July 13, 2024, Trump was in front of a passionate crowd, speaking with the confidence that always characterizes him. But amid his speech, he decided to slightly turn his head to the right to read a sign someone was holding in the crowd. It was an almost imperceptible movement, a casual gesture that anyone could have made. However, that small act became the difference between life and death. At that very moment, an attacker fired. The bullet sped through the air at relentless speed, aimed at its target. But instead of striking fully, the projectile grazed Trump's right ear, barely skimming his skin. The scene transformed in seconds. Chaos and shock took over the place. The crowd, initially unaware of the danger, erupted in screams and confusion. Meanwhile, Trump brought a hand to his ear, feeling the heat and the roar of the shot without fully understanding the magnitude of what had just happened. What seemed like a simple reaction, a reflex, was a turn that saved him from death at that precise second. In that minimal fraction of time, the bullet that could have ended his life was deflected. Trump later commented that if he hadn't turned his head, he wouldn't be alive. On the social network X, Trump wrote, "Only God prevented the unthinkable from happening." The bullet passed inches from his life, yet it did not touch him. And here arises the question that many cannot avoid. Was this a mere act of chance, or perhaps an intervention by something much greater? Some say it was pure luck, but others, those who see beyond, believe it was a sign, a test that Trump was not alone at that moment. Because it is not the first time that a leader seems to be protected in an inexplicable way. The scriptures are full of moments when God intervenes to protect those he has called to fulfill his purpose. In the story of David, when fleeing from Saul, the future king of Israel was preserved time and again from death situations. There is also Daniel, who in the lion's den was protected from the inevitable. The angel of the Lord shut the lions' mouths. Each of these events was not just a display of power, it was an affirmation that God protects those who have a role to fulfill. Many believe that what happened with Trump is in the same line. It was not chance or coincidence, it was intervention. For those who see this event with eyes of faith, there are no doubts. The missed shot was a sign that Trump is not alone, that there is a plan surrounding him and a mission that still must be fulfilled. Psalm 91 is a promise of divine protection. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. He will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. The deflected bullet seems an echo of this promise, a reminder that God can use his power to keep safe those who are in the place he has determined. This unexpected event could be revealing that in the heart of the storm, there is a purpose that we have yet to see in its entirety. For those who believe, this is not simply a twist of luck. It is the reminder that when God has a plan, nothing can stop it. That day in Butler, a second was enough to change the course of a life and perhaps of history itself. The question then is no longer if it was chance or destiny. The real question is what purpose he was preserved for, what mission must still be fulfilled. Some believe that his mission is to defend the people of Israel, the people of God, but others, on the other hand, believe that his mission is to defend the following signs. Sixth sign, pro-life policies. From the beginning of his term, Donald Trump adopted a clear and decided stance on an issue that has deeply divided society, the defense of life from conception. During his presidency, he promoted pro-life policies and nominated conservative judges to the Supreme Court, judges who with their decisions would tip the balance in favor of restricting abortion. For some, this act was just another policy, but for the Christian community, especially for those who see life as a sacred gift, it was a powerful sign, an indication that Trump was acting in line with divine principles, protecting the most defenseless, those who cannot yet speak. In the Bible, life is seen as a gift from God, something that must be protected and respected. Psalm 139 says, "You formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." These words highlight the conviction that each life is a work of God, a divine creation that deserves care and protection. By adopting a pro-life stance, Trump earned the support of many Christians who saw in him someone willing to defend this principle. And here is where Trump, a leader who often defies conventional norms, becomes a defender of life at a crucial moment. As the world continues to debate the value of life from its earliest moments, his administration supports laws and policies that seek to protect the most vulnerable. From a biblical perspective, the defense of life is a sacred principle. In the Bible, God says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." This verse is a reminder that each life has a purpose, a reason for being, and that from the womb we are already known and loved by God. And for those who interpret the times through Scripture, Trump's policy was a reflection of this eternal truth. It was not just about changing laws, but about echoing a spiritual mandate to protect those who have no voice. The nomination of conservative judges was also a strategic act, a move that ensures these policies can be sustained over time. In each pro-life decision, in each judge who supports these laws, those who believe in his purpose see a reflection of a biblical value, a promise that God does not abandon the defenseless. Trump, who in other aspects did not seem a conventional spiritual leader, took a step that many interpret as a mandate to protect the most sacred: life. It was not a coincidence. For some, it was an act of courage and obedience to principles that, they believe, do not come from humanity, but from God. For many, this stance in favor of the most vulnerable is proof that even amidst controversies, his role in history could have a greater purpose. Because for those who believe, there is no act of defense towards the defenseless that does not resonate in the very heart of God. Seventh sign: defense of religious freedom. During his administration, Donald Trump defended religious freedom in a way that few leaders in his position had dared. He signed executive orders that not only protected but reinforced the right of religious organizations to access government funding without compromising their beliefs. Many people felt that the freedom to express faith was weakening and was being marginalized from public life, but Trump intervened, defended the right to pray in schools, supported public employees in their freedom to express their religious convictions, and launched initiatives in defense of Christian communities abroad. There were no demands to adapt, to hide their beliefs. It was a powerful statement at a critical moment, an unwavering support for religious values and the rights of believers to express themselves. For some, this was a political act, but for others, it was a glimpse of something deeper, a sign that God was using an unlikely leader to restore a value many considered lost. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, "You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." For those who see these acts as a sign, Trump's story seems to follow the pattern of ancient biblical leaders, those who, even without being perfect, were called to protect the space where faith can flourish. Jesus also said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Some see in Trump's defense of religious freedom an echo of this truth, a reminder that true freedom includes the right to live according to one's beliefs. His executive orders and his words in favor of prayer in schools were not just political measures, but a cry of support for a sacred right. In the Bible, we read the following: "If my people who are called by my name humble themselves, and pray and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and heal their land." For those who believe in Trump's divine purpose, these acts were not mere political gestures. It seemed that with each signature and every speech, he rekindled a commitment with God, defending the possibility that every individual lives their faith without fear or restrictions. It was a stance that discomforted many, but for others, it was a clear sign that something greater was guiding his steps. At a time when speaking openly about religion could be seen as inappropriate, Trump challenged this trend, and in doing so, he sent a strong message. Faith and religious freedom should not only be respected, but protected at all costs. These are the 7 signs that Donald Trump might be a chosen one of God. But what do you think? Do you believe the biblical relationship is strong enough to support this claim? Or do you think the biblical verses are not related? Leave your opinion in the comment box.